At exactly 9:17 p.m., the lights in Hollow Creek flickered. People noticed. They always did. Hollow Creek was the kind of town where nothing happened without someone watching. One main road, one gas station, one police cruiser that hadn't been replaced since the early 2000s. And one girl who vanished without a scream. Her name was Mara Ellison. She was 19 years old, home from university for the summer and working evenings at the local diner, the same diner where half the town ate and the other half listened. That night Mara clocked out at 9:02 p.m. 7 minutes later, the lights flickered. 10 minutes later, her car was found abandoned. Engine warm. Driver's door open. Phone still inside. No blood. No struggle. No witnesses. Which was impossible, because someone always saw everything in Hollow Creek. Sheriff Caleb Horn told reporters it was likely a runaway situation. People nodded. They always did when Caleb spoke. But Mara didn't run away. Her suitcase was still under her bed. Her laptop was open mid-essay. Her diary ended with a single sentence written that morning. "If I don't come back tonight, it's not because I wanted to leave." That line never made the news. Search parties formed not out of urgency but obligation. People walked the woods they already knew held nothing. By day 3, the questions started. Why did the gas station camera malfunction that night? Why did 3 different people report hearing a scream and later deny it? Why did the sheriff's own deputy refuse a polygraph and keep his job? By day 7, the searches stopped. By day 14, the town moved on. But Mara's mother didn't. Evelyn Ellison became inconvenient. She asked why phone records were never pulled. Why Mara's best friend suddenly left town. Why the diner owner burned old receipts weeks after the disappearance. That's when the threats started. Subtle ones. A note on her porch. Some truths destroy more than they save. Before we go any further, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications, because what happens next explains why an entire town chose silence over justice, and why it took 17 years for the truth to surface. No body meant no crime. Legally, but not morally. Years passed. Candles faded. Mara's name became something people avoided saying. Until a man was arrested. And he was the wrong man. 17 months after Mara Ellison vanished, Hollow Creek finally had a suspect. His name was Jonah Pike. Jonah was easy to hate. Towns like Hollow Creek need someone like him. He lived alone at the edge of town in a half-collapsed trailer. He drank too much. He argued with himself in public. And years earlier, he'd been arrested for breaking into cars, never convicted but remembered. When police announced his arrest, relief swept through the town like permission. Finally, they could stop pretending. Sheriff Caleb Horn stood in front of cameras and said they had compelling circumstantial evidence. What he didn't say was how thin it was. Jonah owned a dark-colored pickup, so did 19 other men in town. A diner waitress claimed Jonah had looked at Mara strangely, weeks earlier. A neighbor said Jonah was acting nervous the night she disappeared. No DNA. No fingerprints. No body. But Jonah didn't have money for a lawyer. And he didn't know how to stay quiet. Jonah was questioned for 14 hours. No lawyer. No recording for the first 6 hours. No sleep. By hour 10, his voice was slurred. By hour 12, he was crying. At hour 14, he said the words they needed. "Maybe I did it, I don't remember everything." That sentence became a confession. If you're still with me, subscribe and turn on notifications, because what happens to Jonah next is one of the most disturbing miscarriages of justice you'll hear, and the reason the real truth stayed buried for nearly 2 decades. The prosecution painted Jonah as a predator. They showed photos of his trailer. They played clips of his confused interrogation. They repeated the phrase, "no alibi," until it sounded like proof. The defense had nothing. Jonah's public defender met him 3 times before trial. Evelyn Ellison watched from the back row every day. She didn't believe Jonah did it. And that made her dangerous again. 2 days before closing arguments, Evelyn mailed a letter to the court. In it, she listed 7 names. 7 people who were in the diner parking lot the night Mara disappeared. 7 people who had never been interviewed, including one name circled twice. Deputy Aaron Horn, the sheriff's nephew. The letter was logged in the courthouse mailroom. It never reached the judge. Guilty. 2nd-degree murder. Jonah Pike was sentenced to 25 years without a body ever being found. The town exhaled. Finally, they could sleep. 3 weeks after the verdict, a fire tore through Jonah's trailer. By the time firefighters arrived, it was already gone. Official cause, electrical fault. Unofficial truth, Jonah had been moved to county lockup 2 days earlier. Someone burned the trailer to erase something. No investigation followed. During the fire cleanup, a volunteer firefighter noticed something strange. The dirt beneath the trailer had already been disturbed, dug up, then refilled. When he mentioned it to the sheriff's office, he was told, "You're remembering it wrong." He never brought it up again. Jonah Pike died in prison 8 years later. Heart failure. No appeals left. No confession beyond the one forced out of him. At his burial, only one person showed up. Evelyn Ellison. She stood over Jonah's grave and whispered, "I'm sorry, I should have screamed louder." By then, Hollow Creek had perfected its silence. People learned what not to say, who not to question, which memories to soften. Children grew up knowing something was wrong, but never what. Until someone broke the pact. In the summer of the 17th year, a woman walked into a state police station 2 counties away. She looked exhausted, older than her age. She gave her name. Lena Morales. Former waitress. Former resident of Hollow Creek. Former best friend of Mara Ellison. She asked for protective custody. Then she said the sentence that reopened everything. Jonah Pike didn't kill Mara. And neither did just one person. Lena Morales didn't cry when she spoke to investigators. That was the first thing they noticed. Her hands shook, yes, her voice cracked once or twice, but there were no tears, just exhaustion, the kind that comes from holding a secret so long it starts to rot inside you. She asked one thing before she talked. "If I tell you everything, you can't make me go back there." Back in Hollow Creek, Lena had been invisible by design. A transfer student. A waitress working double shifts. Someone who listened more than she spoke. That's why Mara trusted her. And why everyone else forgot Lena was even there that night. June 14th. The diner closed at 9:00 p.m. Inside were exactly 8 people. Mara Ellison, Lena Morales, the diner owner, Frank Bell, 2 regulars, 1 off-duty deputy, and Deputy Aaron Horn, Sheriff Horn's nephew. The power flickered at 9:17 p.m. That wasn't an outage. It was deliberate. Mara had been arguing with Aaron for weeks. Not loudly. Not publicly. She had discovered something by accident, something hidden in the diner's back office while printing her schedule. A ledger. Cash entries that didn't match sales. Names written in initials. And 1 repeated note. AH Friday. Mara didn't know what it meant. But Aaron did. When the diner closed, Mara walked out first. Aaron followed. Lena stayed inside, pretending to mop. Through the window, she saw them arguing near Mara's car. Saw Aaron grab her wrist. Saw Mara pull away. Then something happened that was never supposed to happen. Aaron shoved her. Mara fell backward, hit her head on the concrete divider. Hard. Too hard. Mara didn't scream. She gasped once and didn't move. Aaron panicked. Frank Bell came running. The off-duty deputy followed. One regular stepped outside. Then another. Within seconds, 5 people stood in a half-circle around Mara's body. Alive? They didn't know. Dead? They were too afraid to check. That's when Frank said it, the sentence that sealed everything. If this goes public, this town is finished. Aaron was shaking. The off-duty deputy knew what this meant for his pension. Frank knew what the ledger would expose. Someone suggested calling an ambulance. Someone else said, "And tell them what?" Silence. Then Aaron spoke quietly. "I'll take responsibility if we keep this in the family." That's when Frank shook his head. "No, one person can't survive this. We all go down or none of us do." They checked her pulse. There wasn't one. They wrapped her in a diner tarp. Lena watched from the doorway, frozen, terrified, unseen. They put Mara in Aaron's patrol truck. Not to the hospital. To the old quarry road. The quarry had flooded years earlier. Deep, cold, unsearched. They weighted her down with scrap metal from Frank's garage. Before they pushed her in, Aaron removed Mara's necklace, the one her mother had given her. He kept it as a reminder, or a warning. That night, 5 adults agreed to rewrite reality. They would blame an outsider if needed, destroy evidence, protect each other's families, and never ever speak of Mara again. Jonah Pike became the contingency plan. And when the time came, they used him. If this story is hitting you, subscribe and turn on notifications. Stories like this don't stay visible unless people choose to hear them. Silence is how crimes like this survive. Lena left Hollow Creek 2 weeks after the disappearance. She tried to tell police once. They sent her back. She tried again years later. Her file disappeared. Every time she got close, something went wrong. Until the sheriff retired. Until Aaron Horn got promoted. Until the guilt became unbearable. Lena brought one thing with her to the state police station. A photo, taken the morning after Mara disappeared. It showed Aaron Horn in his patrol uniform. Around his neck, Mara's necklace. The one never logged as evidence. The one officially never found. State police reopened the case quietly. No press. No announcements. They pulled phone records for the first time. They traced burner phones used the night of the disappearance. They drained part of the quarry. And they found something tangled in rusted wire. A human femur. With a fracture consistent with a backward fall. The bone was enough. Not for the public, they didn't know yet, but for the state investigators, it was the first physical proof that Hollow Creek had lied for 17 years. And lies don't age well. Caleb Horn was fishing when the call came in. State police. Cold voices. Formal language. They wanted to ask a few follow-up questions about Mara Ellison. Caleb laughed. "That case is closed," he said. The voice on the other end didn't laugh back. "No, Sheriff, it's been reopened." Within hours, word spread, not officially, but the way it always did in Hollow Creek. People noticed unmarked cars. People noticed strangers at the diner. People noticed Deputy Aaron Horn didn't show up for his shift. By sunset, doors were locked early. By morning, the pact was cracking. Frank Bell, the diner owner, was the weakest link. Always had been. He hadn't slept properly in years, the ledger had haunted him, the quarry had haunted him. Mara's face, pale still, had haunted him. When investigators sat across from him, he didn't deny knowing Mara. He denied remembering the night. Then they showed him Lena's statement. Then they showed him the quarry photos. Frank's lawyer leaned in and whispered something urgent. Frank shook his head. "I can't do another 17 years, he said. He agreed to cooperate. That was his mistake. 2 nights later, Frank Bell's car left the road on a sharp curve. No skid marks. No brake failure. The report said he fell asleep. The town said nothing. Investigators said everything. If you're watching this unfold with me, subscribe and turn on notifications. What happens next explains how entire systems protect themselves and how close justice came to disappearing again. After Frank's death, something strange happened. 3 witnesses who had quietly agreed to talk suddenly couldn't remember details. One changed his story. One stopped answering calls. One claimed he had been confused by leading questions. Fear had returned. And fear has a smell, state police could sense it. Deputy Aaron Horn officially took medical leave. Unofficially, he vanished. His house was empty. His phone was left behind. His patrol truck was found at a campground near the state border. Inside the truck, investigators found one thing: Mara's necklace. Broken. Caleb Horn requested a private meeting with investigators. No lawyers. No recording. He sat calmly, hands folded, and said, "You're digging up bones, not truth." Then he offered them a deal. A controlled confession. A single guilty party. No mention of systemic failure. When they refused, Caleb stood up and said something chilling. "Then you'll destroy more lives than you save." As pressure mounted, the town needed someone to blame. They chose Evelyn Ellison. Anonymous complaints. Rumors that she was unstable. Whispers that she had pushed investigators. Her house was vandalized. Someone spray-painted. "Let it stay buried." She didn't call the police. She already knew who wouldn't come. What the town didn't know was that Frank Bell had left something behind. A cassette tape. Hidden behind a loose wall panel in the diner's office. Recorded years earlier, during a night he drank too much and talked to himself. On it, his voice shook as he said, "Aaron didn't mean to kill her, but we all meant to hide it." That tape changed everything. State police moved fast. Search warrants hit the sheriff's office. Financial records were seized. Old call logs were recovered. Caleb Horn was arrested for obstruction of justice. The town gathered outside the courthouse, not to protest the crime, but to protest the investigation. They held signs that read, "Stop DIGGING. Move on." Silence was still fighting. 3 days later, a call came in from a payphone near the old quarry road. The voice was hoarse. Familiar. "I never wanted her dead," the voice said. "But I won't die alone." It was Aaron Horn. Aaron Horn was arrested less than 2 hours after the call. He didn't run. He didn't resist. He was sitting on the hood of his truck near the quarry road, staring at the water like he was waiting for it to speak back. When officers cuffed him, he said, "I kept hearing her fall, over and over." Aaron waved his lawyer. He asked for one thing in return. "Let my uncle hear it." They recorded everything. Aaron admitted to shoving Mara. Admitted to the cover-up. Admitted to moving the body. But then he said something no one expected. "I didn't decide what happened next." He named them. Frank Bell, the off-duty deputy. The 2 regulars. And finally, Sheriff Caleb Horn. Aaron didn't lead the cover-up. Caleb did. According to Aaron, Caleb arrived at the quarry that night. Not in uniform. Not in a panic. In control. Caleb was the one who said they'd destroy evidence. Caleb was the one who suggested Jonah Pike as a future scapegoat. Caleb was the one who ordered the silence. "This town survives because people know when to shut up," Caleb had told them. The trial didn't feel like justice. It felt like surgery without anesthesia. Caleb Horn was convicted of obstruction of justice, evidence tampering, conspiracy, abuse of authority. Aaron Horn pled guilty to manslaughter. The others faced lesser charges. The town watched itself fall apart on live television. But there was one name the verdict couldn't fix. Jonah Pike. Wrongfully convicted. Publicly destroyed. Dead. The state issued an apology. Evelyn Ellison attended the hearing. She stood up when Jonah's name was read and said, "Apologies don't resurrect the dead." After everything, arrests, trials, confessions, Evelyn was called in privately. They handed her a small evidence bag. Inside was Mara's necklace. And a second item. A folded piece of paper. Mara's handwriting. The note read, "Mom, if you're reading this, I was wrong about who I trusted. Please don't destroy yourself looking for justice. I already forgave them. I just wish they'd been brave enough to tell the truth." Evelyn broke for the first time in 17 years. Not because Mara died, but because Mara had understood something the town never did. Truth delayed still destroys. The diner closed. The sheriff's office was dissolved. Families moved away. Hollow Creek still exists on a map. But no one calls it home anymore. People say it feels watched. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because silence protects crimes like this. Stories like this survive only when they're told. Mara Ellison didn't disappear. She was erased. And it took 17 years for the truth to refuse being buried any longer.